This is the last page in my sketchbook, and I have absolutely no idea what to draw. I've been working on this sketchbook for way too long. We're talking an embarrassing amount of time. But today, finally, at long last, I finish it. When I sat down to tackle this last page, I genuinely froze. I felt this strange pressure, like it needed to be something special, something worthy of being the final page. Because finishing a sketchbook is actually a pretty significant moment for me. This may be the second time in my entire life that I've actually made it all the way to the last page of a sketchbook. Most of the time, I stop. The sketchbook sits on my shelf, three quarters full, judging me slightly every time I walk past it. So I sat there, staring at this blank page, thinking, okay, this needs to be grand. This needs to be a finale, something meaningful, something that represents where I am as an artist right now, something I look back on and feel proud of. And after all that build up, I drew a minotaur. Why a minotaur? I have absolutely no idea. I don't think I've ever drawn a minotaur in my life. Not once. So, why my brain decided that the last page of my sketchbook was the right moment to give this a go for the very first time, I really could not tell you. But that's kind of how drawing goes sometimes. You sit down with absolutely no plan, and then something pops into your head and you just go with it. And honestly, I kind of like the way this 2 page spread turned out. The Minotaur was unexpected, but I'll take it. So if you've seen my previous videos, you'll already be aware that this sketchbook and I have a bit of a complicated relationship. It has taken me almost a comically amount of time to get to this point. I've picked it up, I put it down, I picked it up again, lost momentum, found momentum, and then lost it all over again. It's been a lot. I genuinely couldn't tell you how many times I've started a drawing session in this book and then just drifted away from it. Life gets in the way, other projects pull your attention, and before you know it, weeks have gone by and the sketchbook is sitting there untouched under a pile of stuff on your desk. I think a lot of artists can relate to that. And if you do, just know you're in good company because I am terrible for it. One thing I've noticed looking back through the sketchbook now that I've finally completed it is I've generally outgrown some of the drawings in it. You can see a progression quite clearly if you flick through the pages. The early stuff feels like slightly different version of me. The lines are a bit more hesitant, the choices I've made are a bit more safe. And somewhere in the middle, things start to shift. The style gets a little bit more confident, the pen strokes get a bit more confident, and a bit like what I'm doing now. It's actually really interesting to see. It's like a little visual diary of where my art had started and how it progressed over the last few months, or is that years. It does make me feel a little strange about some of the earlier pages. I'll be honest, there are a couple of things in here that I really don't like, but that's the beauty of a sketchbook. It's a record of where you are and where you were. It's not supposed to be great on every page. It's not supposed to be a masterpiece. It's not a portfolio. It's just a sketchbook. Something that I am really excited about, like I've spoken to you guys before on this channel, is making my very first sketchbook tour video. Now that this book is done, I can finally do that video properly from cover to cover. I've always wanted to make a sketchbook tour video. I don't know what it is. It's something about watching someone flip through a completed sketchbook I find really satisfying as a viewer and a watcher of these videos. And I've always just wanted to have my own video, like one who doesn't finish sketchbooks very often. I just haven't had the chance to do that until now. So keep an eye out for that because it is coming very soon. And I think it will be a good one. And also beyond the tour, I am already starting a fresh new sketchbook. Something about a brand new blank book, it feels limitless. All the potential, no bad drawings, well, not yet anyway, and no pages you want to rip out. Just clean paper and possibilities. I can't wait. All right, so let's talk about this final drawing in this sketchbook because I should probably explain what's going on rather than just you guys staring at it. So, as I mentioned, we've got a Minotaur, a completely unplanned, totally spontaneous Minotaur, but he's here. And I think that's why I actually like how this turned out because it was spontaneous. There was no overthinking. I just started drawing, let it happen, and here he is. I stuck to my normal process throughout this piece, which if you've watched my previous videos before, you'll be pretty familiar with by now. I start by inking using the brush pen and rely on a lot of thick and thin lines to create some depth and give the drawing a sense of form. The variation of line width does a lot of the heavy lifting. Thick lines on the shadow side, thinner lines where the light would hit. It's a technique that I've used for many of years now, and I don't think I'm the best at it, but it is something that I do, especially pretty well with these brush pens. For the shadows, I went quite dark on solid, blocking those areas out pretty heavily to give the character some real weight and presence. I wanted him to feel like he had some mass to him, like he was actually taking up some space. And I think the strong shadows help do that quite a lot. As for the coloring, I used alcohol markers, which are my go-to at this point. I tend to work with 2 or 3 shades of the same color and go in with the lighter shade. And then around the darker, more shadowy areas, I fill in with the darker shades and then try and blend them together. Makes it feel a little bit more natural. This is not a complicated approach, but it's effective. And if you're good at blending, it makes it so much easier and it makes your pieces stand out a little bit more. I'm not the best at blending, as I've said again in previous videos, but it gets the job done. The background I kept really simple. I just used an acrylic paint marker to block it all in. I didn't want anything going on to the back there that would compete with the character. So just a solid background with a paint marker is honestly one of my favorite ways to finish a piece because it's quick, it's bold, and it makes the foreground pop out without a lot of effort. For the left-hand spread, this is actually one of my favorite parts of the whole thing. Rather than just leaving it blank or throwing some random filler content in there, I decided to use that page to explore some of the characters' different expressions. I really focused on the facial expressions, doing a couple of different studies of close-ups of his face with different moods, so like an angry mood and showing more expression. I really think this exercise is quite useful, especially when you're drawing a character for the first time. And especially if you're going to draw that character again, it's really good to have a sense of what he's going to look like or what they're going to look like doing different things, whether that's just sitting down, leaning against the wall, having their arms folded, different facial expressions and things like that, especially if you're going to do stuff for comics. I definitely recommend doing this. And then down in the lower left corner of this page, there was a patch of space left over and I didn't know what to do and I didn't want to leave it too blank. So I drew a little chibi version of this character. I don't normally draw chibis and don't think I'm very good at it, but this guy came out pretty cute and I think he fills that space pretty well. And with that, guys, the sketchbook is done completely. Officially, no going back, done. I'm going to close it now and I'm going to move on. Hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, a like on the video goes a long way and generally helps more than you might think. It helps other people find the channel, which means more people to talk about drawing with. And that's always a good thing. Make sure you're subscribed if you want to catch the sketchbook tour when it goes up, because now that this book is finally finished, that video is coming very soon, and I think you'll love to see the whole thing from front to back. I'd also love to know in the comments, do you guys have trouble finishing your sketchbooks? Because I'm feeling I'm not the only one who has a shelf full of half-filled sketchbooks looking back at them. I know a lot of people do sketchbooks rigorously and complete them like a week, but let me know in a comment below what you guys think of sketchbooks. As always, thank you so much for watching. The new sketchbook is already calling my name, and I will see you guys in the next one.